this girl entered the gym. A lot is going on in her mind. She has no one left in her family. Her father, who was the only member of her family and raised her with love, was brutally murdered in front of her own eyes. But the injustice didn't stop there. Nobody was willing to help this alone girl. So, she decided to train herself. A befitting and perfect revenge was all that was going on in her mind. So she joined a boxing gym. As soon as she struck a pose, she got kicked away. The guy behind her take the opportunity to harass her. Though she is pretty and adorable, she refuses to be outdone and refuses to yield without attaining the perfect revenge of her father's death.
찔러.
She actually surprised and appalled her enemies with the best revenge plot in her mind. Welcome back to Paramount Recapped. If you are new to our channel, don't forget to subscribe to it. Surprisingly, this wasn't just any boxing gym, it specialized in training assassins. Since she is the only girl there, the men force her to do all the dirty work. However, she refused to back down. Her decision to be in a boxing gym wasn't only driven by desire. Instead, she is there because she wants to become strong to avenge her father.
뭘 보라봐, 씨발년아.
Her name is Jiwoo. Just a month ago, Jiwoo was a 10th grade student. Her life was constantly under the watchful eye of the police due to her father being a wanted fugitive. She's always under surveillance. Not only do her classmates avoid her, but even her teacher suggests she should quit school. Such a life forced her to the end. Frustrated, she returned to the classroom. A bully mocks her as a gangster's daughter and puts a bag of flour on her desk, mentioning her father's involvement in drugs. Faced with the ridicule of her classmates, this time she didn't want to hold back anymore, so she grabs the flour and hurls it at the girl. A fight ensues, pitting Jiwoo against 4 classmates. Despite being shoved against a wall, she fights back alone, taking down 3 of them. When a classmate pulls a pencil as a threat, Jiwoo swiftly deals with her. She makes it clear that she won't be bullied. The classroom falls silent as the once arrogant girls tremble in fear, realizing that even a criminal's daughter knows how to fight like that, proving she can handle herself. Jiwoo grabs her bag and leaves. The teacher rushes in, but Jiwoo hands over her name tag and drops out before the school can kick her out. On her way back home, she gets frustrated by the chasing police officer, so she smashes the cop car's side mirror. As he watches her, the police give chase, but she outmaneuvers them and makes it back home. There's a cake and flowers from her father, Mr. Dong-hoon, but she kicks them aside. She has been living alone for a while, but her father never talked to her and even stopped responding to her calls. It was because he was trying to stay out of the radar as much as possible. Frustrated by the negativity surrounding her, she vents her anger on him. She holds him responsible for all the hardships in her life. In a fit of emotion, she declares him dead to her. Feeling guilty, Mr. Dong-hoon visits her at night, but outside her apartment, an unknown person approaches him. Hearing noises, Jiwoo tries to open the door, but Mr. Dong-hoon tightly grips the handle to shield her from the stranger. The assailant shoots him, and Jiwoo witnesses her father's death. After the assailant leaves, Jiwoo opens the door only to discover her father lifeless on her doorstep. She tries to wake him up, but he's already gone. At Mr. Dong-hoon's funeral, his friend and boss, Mr. Mujin, pays his respects to the departed. He is the biggest gangster in the city, seeking justice for her father. Jiwoo goes to the police station. Sadly, they lack evidence and can't proceed with the investigation. Left with no choice, Jiwoo turns to Mr. Mujin for help. When she shares her plan for revenge, Mujin gives her a knife and demands she kill him. Frightened, Jiwoo hesitates, so Mujin slaps her, making her understand that she can't avenge her father without knowing how to take a life. Though he refuses further assistance, Jiwoo remains determined to seek revenge. At night, a knock echoes at her door. Fearful, she stays silent, prompting the man to depart. After he leaves, Jiwoo follows him, but he speeds away in his car. Determined for revenge, Jiwoo uses a blurry CCTV photo to identify the murderer. A mysterious caller claims knowledge of the man. However, upon confrontation, they reveal themselves as mere troublemakers. They rob her and start tormenting her. As she passes out, they kidnap her. Before things escalate, Mujin intervenes and saves her. Witnessing Jiwoo's resolve, he decides to assist her. He takes her to a boxing gym where future assassins are trained. Instead of teaching her, The boys treat her as a maid. Some even attempt to take advantage. But Jiwoo stands strong and refuses to back down. Jiwoo persists in her training, becoming Mujin's student. He instructs her on striking an opponent's vital points for victory. Practicing together, Jiwoo inadvertently leaves an impression on Mujin by hitting him in the chest during a sudden attack. In a high-stakes boxing competition involving 20 fighters, Jiwoo uses Mujin's tactics. She targets vital areas like lips, eyes, and genitals to defeat each opponent. Advancing through the rounds, she faces the final opponent, Gangi. The confrontation turns brutal, with Ganji initially dominating. He chokes her with a chain and hurls her against the fence. The tide shifts several times until Jiwoo stages a comeback using her combat skills. In a pivotal moment, she delivers a decisive elbow strike to Gangi's face. It makes him unconscious. Mr. Mujin declares Jiwoo the victorious winner of the intense match. When Gangi wakes up, he decides to take revenge on Jiwoo for his humiliation. While she is bathing, he drugs her water. When she is under the drug's influence, she enters her room with his friend to sexually assault her. At first, Jiwoo is unable to defend herself. However, when her father's ash pot falls and breaks, she picks up the glass piece and stabs the friend. She then escapes the room with GJ following her with a hammer. He breaks her arm, but before he can do anything further, men gather around him for attacking Jiwoo. Mujin decides to cut one of his limbs in the end. He slashes his face as a punishment. Mr. Mujin then has a meeting with Jiwoo and tells her that she is now considered dead in the eyes of the world. Oh Hyejin, as she now calls herself, receives a firearm left behind at the crime scene by the killer, which they manage to recover. Mujin informs her that a police officer is responsible for Mr. Donghoon's death, but no further details are available. Taking this seriously, Jiwoo diligently hones her combat skills, joining Mujin's group, and also securing a position in the police department. She pledges unwavering loyalty to the organization, with the understanding that any betrayal will result in her elimination. Years pass, and Jiwoo remains dedicated to her role as a police officer. During a mission to apprehend drug dealer Park Chang-gu, she interrupts a narcotics sting operation involving another undercover cop. Undeterred by the complexity, Jiwoo crashes through a glass window to arrest Chang-gu, sparking chaos and a fight with gangsters. Thanks to her combat prowess, Jiwoo successfully apprehends the dealer, though her actions frustrate Sergeant Jeon Pildo. Initially reluctant, Jiwoo eventually allows Pildo to take Chang-gu into custody upon confirming his mission details. Despite his clear annoyance, Jiwoo faces consequences for her intervention when Cha Jiho, head of the Narcotics Bureau, and the hooded figure who visited her after her father's death, calls her in. Reviewing her file, Jiho discovers Jiwoo had previously been rejected twice from the Bureau, but now sees her determination and personal mission, approving her application. This decision displeases Sergeant Pildo, who is visibly unhappy to see her. Jiho informs Pildo that Jiwoo will not only join the department, but also become his new partner. Later, Pildo discovers a lead related to another dealer named Mango in Chang-gu's case. As they head to confront Mango, Jiwoo swiftly subdues a security guard with her combat skills. Inside, Jiwoo confronts the goons while Pildo grows concerned about the delay. Entering the building, Pildo is astonished to find Jiwoo has already subdued several men. Though they arrest Mango, he refuses to divulge information about the new drugs or his supplier. While Pildo searches for the drugs, Jiwoo finds a bottle of the new substance. Despite Mango's refusal to cooperate during interrogation, Jiwoo discovers the supplier to be Gangi, a former member of the organization involved in illicit activities. As Jiwoo delves into her father's case file, she finds a frustrating dead end in her quest for justice. Meanwhile, Mujin's activities draw the attention of the narcotics department, who brief Jiwoo on a mission targeting Mujin. Without communication with Mujin, Jiwoo faces a dilemma but proceeds with the mission. During the operation, a gunshot causes chaos, allowing Mujin to escape amid a chemical fire. Jiwoo tries to assist, but ends up pointing her pistol at Pildo, allowing Mujin to flee into the water. Investigations follow, with Jiwoo helping locate a gun linked to the shooting, revealing her role in Mujin's escape. Frustrated, Jiho finds no evidence among his team members, leaving them at a dead end. Meanwhile, Gangi returns to settle scores at Mujin's gym, causing a violent confrontation. Tiju becomes a target, suffering a broken arm in Gangi's revenge attack. Jiwoo responds to the crime scene as tensions escalate. The sight of the aftermath leaves her visibly shaken. Anxiously, she turns to Pildo, inquiring whether Mujin had been among the casualties.
최무진은 여기 없었어.
She breathes a sigh of relief upon learning that Mujin was not present at the gym during the attack. Meanwhile, Mujin reviews the CCTV footage of the gym and identifies Gangi's role in the incident, which claimed the lives of 4 organization members. During their funerals, Jiwoo attends briefly to ensure Mujin's safety. On her way back, she unexpectedly encounters Pildo, her identity concealed by a helmet. Mr. Cha visits Mujin and emphasizes his unwavering determination to see Mujin behind bars.
똑같은 개새끼라도 주인 잘 만나면은 호강하는 거고.
Despite the warning, Mujin remains confident in evading capture by Cha. While reviewing evidence at the office, Pildo receives word from a colleague about CCTV footage implicating Gangi in the gym incident. Jiwoo is taken aback to discover that the individual who previously attempted to end her life has returned with increased influence. Meanwhile, the team uncovers Gangi's previous ties to Mujin and his gym through old connections. Pildo assumes Mujin will keep a low profile after the incident, but Mr. Cha, familiar with Mujin's mindset, is certain that Mujin will continue to seek revenge. Cha's deep understanding prompts a strategic plan, releasing Mango to observe Mujin's reactions and movements, intending to apprehend Mujin in the midst of his pursuit of vengeance. Jiwoo expresses concerns about potential casualties, but Cha remains resolute. Taking matters into her own hands, Jiwoo informs Mujin of Cha's strategy, prompting Mujin to devise a counterplan aimed at undermining Cha's scheme. Upon Mango's release, a team of undercover officers strategically surveils his pub. Cha briefs his team on the next steps, revealing an insider within Mujin's organization potentially willing to cooperate. As Cha sets out to meet this informant, Jiwoo decides to follow him. Unexpectedly, Pildo appears before Jiwoo, revealing that her pursuit was a trap to expose Mujin's spy. A confrontation ensues, during which Jiwoo overpowers Pildo and escapes, spotting Tiju in his car as she exits. Jiwoo's presence arouses suspicion among Mr. Cha and Pildo, who suspect a mole within their ranks. Cha considers Jiwoo as a possible culprit due to the leaks coinciding with her recent involvement. He orders Pildo to closely monitor Jiwoo's movements. Gangi watches CCTV footage from Mango's casino and identifies Jiwoo's new identity. Following Cha's directives, Pildo tails Jiwoo to the forensic service, where she obtains the pistol's report. While Jiwoo continues her investigation into Gangi, Pildo confronts her, questioning her clandestine activities. Jiwoo manages to assuage his suspicions, and they decide to track Mango in hopes of locating Gangi. Their pursuit leads them to an abandoned car factory, where they encounter Gangi meeting with Mango, only to fall into a trap. Anticipating Jiwoo's pursuit through Mango, Gangi signals his cohorts, who attack Pildo and Jiwoo. Despite putting up a fierce fight, they are eventually subdued and captured. Delighted to exact his revenge, Gangi plans to subject Jiwoo to the same torment he endured under Mujin's rule. The altercation intensifies as Gangi's men assault Mujin, whose exceptional combat skills enable him to confront and defeat each adversary. Using a captured phone, Gangi contacts Mujin to reveal Jiwoo's abduction. Taking swift action, Mujin moves to rescue her. Meanwhile, Gangi traps Jiwoo and Pildo in a van beneath a crushing machine, handcuffed and without means of escape. As the van starts to be crushed, Mujin arrives in the nick of time, ramming his car into the machine to disable it. While Jiwoo manages to escape, Pildo remains trapped inside, still handcuffed. With the police approaching, Mujin is compelled to flee the scene. Meanwhile, Jiwoo struggles to free Pildo. In her efforts to release him, the machine reactivates, slowly crushing the vehicle. In a desperate move, Jiwoo severs the machine's wiring, bringing it to a halt. Though Pildo is saved, Jiwoo collapses due to severe blood loss. Devastated by Jiwoo's injury, Pildo shifts his focus from pursuing Mujin to apprehending Gangi. Amidst the chaos, Mujin decides to expedite Jiwoo's departure from the country, deeming it the safest option given the threat posed by Gangi. Mujin communicates this plan to Jiwoo, but she adamantly refuses. Despite acknowledging the danger to her life, Jiwoo is resolute in seeking justice by capturing her father's killer. The situation escalates as Mujin eliminates a police officer aware of Jiwoo's true identity. Meanwhile, Gangi reaches out to Cha, offering assistance in capturing Mujin. Armed with information on Gangi's whereabouts, Mujin and his men move to confront him. Unbeknownst to them, the police lie in wait, planning to apprehend both groups in the act. A fierce skirmish ensues, resulting in Mujin finally overpowering Gangi. Despite Gangi's attempt to flee, Mujin relentlessly pursues him. At the same time, Jiwoo arrives at the scene, witnessing Mujin's pursuit of Gangi. A brutal showdown unfolds between the two adversaries. Although Mujin manages to injure Gangi, gaining a brief advantage, Gang seizes an opportunity and retaliates by viciously stabbing Mujin multiple times. Before Gang can deliver the fatal blow, Jiwoo intervenes, firing her weapon to enable Mujin's escape. Despite Captain Cha cornering him at gunpoint, Mujin manages to evade capture with Tiju's help. Meanwhile, Gang threatens to expose Jiwoo's identity. Just as Pildo arrives, Jiwoo shoots Gang, silencing him forever. The situation takes a dramatic turn as Mujin's life hangs in the balance due to severe blood loss. Unable to seek medical assistance from a hospital, he turns to an associate and a retired doctor residing in a temple. Meanwhile, Jiwoo is taken aback when she receives a letter from the late Gangyi. Enclosed is a photograph showing her father alongside Cha, dressed in a police uniform. Jiwoo visits Mujin at the temple upon receiving his call and confronts him about the photograph. During their conversation, Mujin reveals a shocking revelation. Mr. Dong-hoon was an undercover police officer sent by Cha to infiltrate their organization. However, Dong-hoon switched allegiance, siding with them, which ultimately led to his betrayal and subsequent murder by Cha. Mujin confesses to fabricating information to strengthen Jiwoo's resolve, hoping it would fuel her determination to seek justice for her father's death. In another development, Ganji returns home intoxicated after a night out with Pildo. As he sits down, he is viciously attacked and stabbed multiple times by an unknown assailant. Jiwoo arrives at the scene and is alarmed to find blood on the doorknob. Upon entering, Cha, in a panicked state, mistakes Jiwoo for the assailant and fires a shot in her direction. Hearing the gunshot, Pildo rushes to the scene, but instead of offering aid, Jiwoo confronts Cha, holding a dagger to his throat. She demands answers regarding her father's fate from 5 years ago. It's at this moment that Cha recognizes Jiwoo as his best friend's daughter. He discloses that Mr. Dong-hoon was indeed an undercover cop embedded in Mujin's organization. Before he can reveal more, Pildo's arrival forces Cha to hand Jiwoo evidence proving her father's loyalty to the police until his tragic end. Jiwoo manages to escape just before Pildo arrives, who notices her backpack containing letters written by Mr. Dong-hoon until the day of his death. These letters unveil Dong-hoon's steadfast allegiance to the police and reveal that he had given Mujin a lighter equipped with a hidden tracker, leading Mujin to discover Dong-hoon's betrayal and subsequently kill him with his own weapon. Shattered by the revelation that she unknowingly aided her father's killer, Jiwoo experiences a mental breakdown. Pulling over her car, she vents her frustration and anger by hitting herself. After composing herself, she removes the organization's tattoo from her chest, preparing herself for revenge. The situation worsens as Cha remains hospitalized. Meanwhile, Mujin receives word from his lawyer that Jiwoo was seen near Cha's residence, indicating she may have uncovered the truth. Having tended to her wounds, Jiwoo prepares to depart, taking her father's ashes and the dagger given to her by Mujin to avenge her father's death. However, she is ambushed by assailants who forcefully drag her back into the house. They attempt to drown her in the bathtub, but Jiwoo fiercely fights back, leading to an intense struggle. Simultaneously, Tiju enters Jiwoo's house with the intention of eliminating her. He reveals the truth about Mujin's role in her father's murder due to betrayal. A fierce battle ensues between them, marked by relentless attacks and evasive maneuvers. Despite the odds, Jiwoo manages to overpower Tiju and ultimately ends his life during the intense confrontation. The situation becomes even more complex as Mujin voluntarily surrenders himself to the police to prove his innocence in Gangji's murder. In the interrogation room, Jiwoo confronts Mujin, insisting that he must face the consequences of his actions. The police possess Mujin's dagger and fingerprints as evidence linking him to Gangji's murder. Jiwoo believes that justice will finally be served. However, she secretly removes the evidence from the evidence room and informs Mujin of the altered circumstances. Meanwhile, Pildo discovers CCTV footage showing Jiwoo near Cha's residence, leading to suspicions that she was responsible for the attack on Cha. Despite their efforts to apprehend her, Jiwoo manages to evade capture. With the evidence against Mujin removed, the police find themselves powerless, believing that Jiwoo is still on their side. Mujin returns to the gym only to discover Tiju's lifeless body. He realizes that Jiwoo manipulated the evidence to confront and eliminate him herself. Meanwhile, Pildo learns from Captain Cha about Mujin's manipulation of Jiwoo within the organization. Jiwoo is eventually captured and taken to the hospital despite her attempts to escape. Pildo intercepts her and emphasizes the dangers of pursuing Mujin alone. Fully aware of the risks, Jiwoo remains determined to take matters into her own hands. With no other choice, Pildo handcuffs himself to Jiwoo. Suddenly, they are ambushed by Mujin's men. Despite the dire situation, they manage to escape. During their time together, Pildo tends to Jiwoo's wounds, forming a bond that makes Jiwoo realize she is not entirely alone. As the night unfolds, Pildo convinces Jiwoo to consider arresting Mujin, aligning with her father's wishes. Their budding connection is abruptly shattered the next day when Mujin, furious at Jiwoo's resistance, kills Pildo in her presence. Devastated, Jiwoo seizes Pildo's gun and flees. Consumed by a thirst for vengeance, she arrives at Mujin's hotel, sparking a brutal confrontation with his men. Armed with Pildo's gun, Jiwoo relentlessly takes down each assailant. The showdown culminates in a face-to-face confrontation with Mujin. In a defiant moment, Jiwoo declares that she had initially been willing to surrender, but now chooses to embrace a path of vengeance. A final intense battle ensues, leaving Jiwoo critically injured. In a decisive moment, she seizes Mujin's dagger and delivers a fatal blow, momentarily subduing him. As Mujin attempts a final desperate move with an empty pistol magazine, Jiwoo seizes the opportunity and delivers a fatal blow, stabbing Mujin in the chest and bringing an end to the long-standing conflict. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, it really helps the channel out. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so drop a comment below with your suggestions for future videos, any questions you have, or just to say hi. Your feedback is super important to us and helps us create better content for you. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends, family, and on social media. It really makes a big difference and helps our community grow. You can follow us on Insert your social media handles for more updates and behind-the-scenes content. Thanks again for your support, and we'll see you in the next video.